Hi everyone, my name is Martin McKenna, a photographer from Northern Ireland. You might know me better from my website Nightskyhunter.com. I specialise in night sky photography, the Aurora, NLCs, thunderstorms, pretty much anything cool that nature can produce. My big passion is the transient phenomena. I love transient events which just happen. There may be like a time limit, something moves, explodes, or is happening over a period of seconds, minutes, or several hours and will not happen again. That's the kind of field that I am interested in, which gets me excited. Tonight is one of those times. There is a chance of the Aurora Borealis or Northern Lights across a large part of the Northern Hemisphere, northern latitudes and mid-northern latitudes. So if you're watching in the UK, pretty much anyone in Northern UK has a good chance of seeing something. It's not expected to be a major display or a significant event, at least I don't think so at this point in time. But it looks to be a decent enough Aurora potential or a setup to interest me to invest some time, money and fuel and going out and doing a shoot in this one. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on what my plan is, what's happening, and I just decided to put this video together for a change to show you how one of these shoots work. I won't be able to do any night filming with this camera because it's just a normal HD video camera. However, all going well, if I do catch an aurora, I'll include some of the images into this video and put it all together into a little clip showing you, a day in the life or a night in the life of one of the things I do. If anybody's interested in aurora hunting or doing their own thing, maybe this will help them out. So anyway, the situation is earlier this week there's been a number of strong solar flares. I can't remember the designation of the sunspots or active regions off the top of my head, but some of these events were X-class flares and N-class flares. Several CMEs were unfurled from those events. They've been travelling across the sun to the Earth. The distance between the Earth and the sun is 93 million miles. That's one astronomical unit. Some of these CMEs take an average of 3 days to reach the Earth, sometimes sooner if it's a really fast event. Well, earlier in the week there were supposed to be auroras on Monday night or possibly Tuesday for some of these earlier events, but they didn't happen. The CMEs either missed or they were not strong enough or bright enough to cause any significant effects, at least not at mid-latitude anyway. So I've been waiting patiently for the next event. Following on from that, there's been two much brighter CMEs that came from an explosion in the sun associated with an M4 class solar flare. Well, two of these CMEs are en route. I'll show you the animation in a second on one of the sites. Two of them will give a glancing below tonight. By the way, this is October 30th, Halloween Eve. The activity is expected to arrive this evening or tonight and into the early hours or longer on October 31st. So in all, it looks like we could be having a Halloween aurora display, which is really cool. I've only ever seen an aurora at Halloween before in my life, and I've observed 114 aurora displays over the last 15 years or so. So it is actually quite rare. So I'm quite excited by this. The last Halloween aurora display I seen was 2005 and it was absolutely incredible display. I'm not expecting tonight's display to even touch on that, but you never know, it could. I'm always optimistic about that. But the thought of it happening on Halloween makes it all the more special. So this is my plan anyway. Two glancing blows from the CME to hit this evening, hopefully. Forecast is iffy but potentially good. There should be clear spells anyway, so it looks like it's going to be an interesting elemental battle. My plan is quite straightforward. I'm going to meet up with OMA photographer Paul Martin. He's a good friend of mine, a aurora chaser, storm chaser photographer as well. We have very similar interests, so we're going to meet up after dark and then we're going to drive from Mahara to the north coast, the County Antrim coastline. We're not entirely sure this time where we're going to be shooting from, but the consensus is so far that we're going to try the Mussenden Temple and Downhill Estate area, which is near Downhill Beach and Benone Beach. It's a nice historic spot with two old structures, which are very famous structures, all over the world. They're very distinctive and unique, and they'll provide really good foreground for the photography. I was up there a couple of weeks ago with Paul. We did a photo shoot on our aurora night. The aurora was very weak, however we found some nice angles and I've been always wanting to go back there and retry it again with a decent display. So that's the plan tonight anyway. But anything could happen, those plans could change very easily. I just checked the charts there. The time actually, by the way, now is 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock on Halloween Eve. That's Wednesday. So I'm just going through, I was going through online checking all the charts of situation. There isn't any significant activity at the minute. However, the ACE spacecraft is showing signs of something that's coming in. The KP has gone up from 2 to 3, so it's gradually building, and the Aurora oval looks very healthy and bright and full of promise for tonight. I suspect things will start to happen after dark, whenever the first part of the CME starts to affect the planet's magnetosphere. So I'm really hoping we'll get a nice display this evening. I'll show you a couple of quick video clips of the computer screen showing you these animations of the CMEs and a bit about the weather forecast, sort of paint the picture in your mind of what we're up against. So I'll do a few clips later on, let you know how we get on. So okay, so this is one of the latest updates from one of the Aurora sites. Some of this data comes from the Stereo spacecraft, but anyway, this is like one of the models in the form of an animation which shows the Sun and the Earth and solar wind and CMEs. The Sun is yellow ball at centre, and this green ball here is the Earth. As you can see, there's a number of CMEs erupting off the Sun here heading towards Earth. You can see them with their red and white, green colours and yellow. The colours this is the Met Office website. The situation was we had a weak cold front passing through during the daytime. This was the radar at 9:30 this morning, showing this narrow but quite intense band of heavy rain. The time at the minute is almost 20 to 4, so this was 12:30. As you can see, the front was moving left to right, that's west-east across the country. And now the latest update, 3 o'clock, is showing the front is cleared through, and behind it we have some residual showers and so forth, but we've got dry, clean air moving in behind. The sun's already out behind me, there's blue skies. It's looking pretty good. So the chances of getting some cleared periods tonight are really good for this Aurora. So we'll have to look at one more detail though, and that's what's going to happen over the ocean, because right here is where I plan to be tonight, on the County Antrim coast. So now I'll go into a bit more detail about this. Okay, this is the netweather.tv GFS model run. This particular page is showing the Cape and Lifted Index. That's pretty much a measure of how unstable the sky is. As you can see, over land itself there's no instability after the cold front passes through, so it should be pretty dry and clear. However, there is some residual, again, instability behind the front. This is 9 o'clock at night, so I would expect there to be a few isolated showers, some on and off cloud issues, but there should be good clear spells in between the showers, which is what I'm pretty much hanging my hopes on. So that's the time from 9 o'clock onwards. But as I go forward in time, it's midnight and now 3 AM, you can see there's a lot more instability moving in over the ocean, coming down from the northwest. There's about a couple of hundred cape there, even up to 400 in places, and a lifted index of -1. The sea is pretty unstable because you've got this colder air overspreading a more warmer, moist ocean, so that contrast can be pretty good for convection. So I would say there'll be quite a few showers coming down that time at 3 o'clock in the morning. So my game plan is to catch this Aurora as early as possible after dark, before these showers move in and introduce more cloud. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's actually pretty more widespread, so want to get this early in the night. The added benefit of this though is that there could be some photogenic showers, convection, and perhaps even a rumble of thunder or two, especially over the more northwest parts of the ocean where we could get some scattered lightning, which would be pretty cool. So I'm kind of weighing this into the balance of this photo shoot. Aurora would be great, but Aurora with a few flashes of light in the distance would be unbelievable, would be fantastic. So I'm keeping this in mind as an optimistic take on tonight's setup. And also I'll flick this chart through to precip. It's showing the showers and rain. Midnight, so here's 9 o'clock. Pretty dry in the whole country, something over the sea way over the north coast. 12 o'clock, still some showers around, but clear gaps too. 3 o'clock, then this whole thing takes over, so we kind of want to stay away from it as far as Aurora is concerned. Wind speed is from the southwest, so it's a warm direction, it's milder. The winds might be gusty, but we'll be able to get some good shelter from that, so it won't be too bad. So all in all, it looks pretty good. I'm now going to have a look at the satellite images and see how this model run actually matches up with reality. This is Sat 24, This is another batch of animated images taken in visual mode, not infrared, but the infrared will kick in after dark. This is the visual satellite image. As you can see, this is the cold front, this large curved feature moving from west to east is now leaving Ireland at 4:15 and is heading into Britain. Behind it you can see these plenty of clear spells accompanied by a lot of showers, convection. So this is what we're going to be dealing with tonight. It could be a case of rain and hail, clear spells, back to rain, cloud, clear. But what we want to do is take advantage of this period from here to here for photography, and then once this more dense period comes in here later on to the northwest, more cloud, that'll be game over. So this is our window period here. So, and also the added benefit is there could be some lightning too. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to switch over here now to ATD Safarix. There we go. I'll just adjust this camera. There's just been a recent strike in Ireland there earlier. As you can see, these red dots are CG lightning. That's cloud to ground lightning, or in this case, cloud to ocean. Those are from those showers in the satellite images. They will be moving this way tonight, so hopefully we'll get a few flashes in the distance from this, which may add to the photo potential too. So that's pretty much the setup. This is the theory, but reality could be completely different. But it looks to be an interesting night. So I'll keep you posted later on in this journey and see what the plan is. This is the Aurora oval at 4:10, taken from our satellite. As you can see, this is the oval itself for the Aurora. It's actually refreshing there just as a page blinked. It actually looks kind of healthy and bright compared to earlier, so it's growing in intensity. At the minute it's still daytime across the UK. There's Scotland, Britain and Ireland there. This is the daytime side, this is the nighttime side. As the sun goes down here and nighttime takes place over Northern Ireland, this area of interest should become the main focus of activity around here. And I hope from looking at this that the oval itself should be over Scotland and perhaps brushing the coast of Northern Ireland. So I'm pretty hopeful we'll get a Aurora display there, and this should expand and become more intense later on too. And in case anybody doesn't know, excuse this primitive method here, but there's Northern Ireland there. I would say if this was night time, you'd probably pick up a green glow on the horizon even at this stage, but it'll improve later on, so fingers crossed. Right, just quickly before, I'm just getting ready here, gonna pack up my clothes and all later. This is my new camera bag, by the way, new Canon camera bag. This is my gear. You don't really need anything fancy for Aurora photography. It's not in a mess. It may seem looks like a mess, but it's not. This is my Canon 450D, which I've been using for a number of years now. It's been a good camera for me. I'll be using it tonight, and I have attached a cable release, which is this guy here. It plugs into the socket at the side of the camera, and you can control your exposures this way. You can click it on to start, click it again to stop. And you have it in bulb mode. You can do exposures anywhere from 31 seconds to, well, minutes or even hours if you want to. So that's I highly recommend one of these, by the way. It's my favourite kind of accessory for Aurora photography. On it I have a Canon 10 to 22mm wide angle lens. This is a huge lens. The field of view is gigantic on it. Almost a borderline fisheye. That'll take in a lot of sky and a lot of land. Really good for those large Aurora displays, and if you want to include landscapes, oceanscapes in there, you really can compose some pretty cool shots. So this is what my primary lens for tonight, although it is a slow lens, f3.5, so I will need a good bright Aurora or longer exposure to compensate for that, but there should be good shots with that. I also have a Canon 24 to 70mm f2.8, sort of mid-range zoom. That'll be excellent. f2.8 is extremely fast for that kind of range. That'll come in handy. Just me. My other favourite lens is the Canon 50mm f1.8. I got it as a Christmas present a couple of years ago from my girlfriend. Thank you, Rushing. Excellent lens for Aurora. For getting close to the action, certain parts of the display have have a lot of activity, you'll get amazing images with this with short exposure, so brilliant. And of course I have my backup 18 to 55mm kit lens, which is actually pretty good. Again, f3.5 and slow, but it has its place. And a few head torches, battery operated head torch, rechargeable head torch. That's pretty much all I need. Batteries are charged on the camera. I have a spare battery charged. I have some cleaning utensils here for taking dust and off the sensor and moisture off the lens and so forth. So I'm all ready to go, ready for action. Hi everyone, it's the next morning after the big Aurora hunt last night. I didn't get a chance to take any more video footage during the night because it was so crazy. We were really busy doing photography and observing, and it was all go, so I decided to wait until today. But as you can see from some of the images showing, that it was a very successful night. In fact, far more successful than we even thought it would be, so we're absolutely delighted. What happened was Paul and I met up with Paul's friend Stephen, also from MoMA. The three of us headed up to the north coast and targeted Mussenden Temple. We went straight to the location. Actually, as soon as we got out of the car, we could see the Aurora with the naked eye before we were dark adapted, so that was fantastic. We were delighted the success came so quickly. The CME must have arrived just in time, and the south tilting oval must have just generated enough activity to spark things off over the north coast. So we walked out to the temple and got into position. We'd been there previously and I worked out a couple of angles I wanted to try. Excuse me. So I went to those angles, set up my camera and began shooting. At first the Aurora was just a faint green glow on the horizon and a roll band about 20 degrees high, which is about 40 full moon diameters. It looked more like an enhancement than anything very exciting, but the fact it was there at all was just great to see. It really verified the Aurora forecast and our own instincts about the night. With time, however, the Aurora oval the Aurora oval band seemed to intensify, and we suspected we could see faint beams with the naked eye at the very limited vision, but we couldn't really confirm it. It was more of an instinct than anything else. Then Stephen and I began to notice a red colour above the green, which is kind of unusual. We could see it very subtly with the naked eye above the green band, and that was showing up on our cameras previous to this, but usually the naked eye, the red's very hard to see, but we could see it. So we came to the conclusion the Aurora was intensifying and anything could happen at any moment. The Aurora is like a living entity. It changes by the second. It literally is living and breathing and changing by the second. There's a lot of dynamics going on and anything is possible, so it pays to be on full alert. So with this kind of hint from Mother Nature that something was about to happen, we got into our positions, or got our favourite compositions sorted out, began taking images, and I remember looking down at the tripod legs for a brief moment down towards the grass to check that I wasn't bumping into the legs during the exposure to shake the camera or anything. And I heard Paul shout, "Beams!" I looked up and then, oh my goodness, what before it was just a band on the horizon had suddenly changed in the blink of an eye into a major Aurora outburst. We were completely blown away. It was an incredible outburst. The outburst lasted perhaps 15-20 minutes, centred around 21:30 UT, and it changed the entire Aurora into an awesome visual display. It was so good, it made the entire year of not catching any good auroras before it. The entire year, actually about 8 months of trying on numerous occasions to catch the aurora and being let down, this 15-minute window made up for that and more. It was incredible. The sky just switched on, the band intensified and suddenly beams shot up from the band right into the sky, concentrated in the east of north and northwest sectors of the sky, but the northwest sector in particular was very, very action packed. There was a lot going on there, even to take in with the naked eye. The camera picked up vivid green band and vivid red vertical rays moving across the sky. With the naked eye, I could also, well, this was my perception anyway, others may disagree and have their own views on it, but I seen blue-white colours, particularly blue, which is very interesting. A lot of blue colour to the beams, so that was really nice. It actually reminded me of my first ever Aurora display in December 1999. Was very blue, the gats. It was kind of like a really nice personal thing to see. Anyway, the Aurora just is really hard to describe visually, and even though the images show a great scene, there's always two sides to every story when it comes to the Aurora. There's the photographic side, and then there's the visual side. The photographic side showed this wonderful display, the green colours, the red, the intensity. But the naked eye is a very different story. What you see with the naked eye can be different on camera and vice versa. And both of them were spectacular in their own way. Very hard to describe. You really needed to have been there to see it. The beams reached over 40 degrees high. That's about 80 full moon diameters for those who don't know. 1 degree is 60 arc minutes, which is 2 full moon diameters. So you just work that into it. The beam shot up into the paws of Ursa Major and then eventually into the belly of Ursa Major, which is the Great Bear, of course, which is very high in the sky, over a quarter way up, nearly halfway. Pretty impressive even for a wide angle lens to pick up that much kind of degree of activity at that height, so we were totally delighted. The beams were pencil thin, very very thin, and they would start to multiply and divide into multiple beams, and the beams would move across the horizon like this, going up and down, changing, and sometimes they become broad diffuse features, other times they would narrow into really intense beams like searchlight beams, ghostly searchlight beams pointing up into the sky. Really really amazing, difficult to describe, just incredible, absolutely incredible. That 15-20 minutes was just amazing. I was so happy with it, Paul was so happy, and so was Stephen. In fact, this was Stephen's first ever proper Aurora display, and he got his first ever images. He was totally blown away by it too. In fact, Paul told me later on that he looked across at Stephen, and Stephen was simply standing there staring at it with his jaw open and complete starstruck, so to speak. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. And Paul actually had to tell him, take images, take images. He forgot, he was so struck by the display, he forgot to take images with the camera, so that was really cool to hear that. It's really nice to hear someone having an experience like that, and no doubt they'll be addicted now and want to catch as many as they can, just like everyone else, so that's really delighted to hear that. After the display was over, it wasn't really over, the outburst subsided and back into the original arc we'd seen. We used the opportunity to have a cup of tea near Downhill Estate, get some shelter for a while because the wind was starting to pick up and get quite chilly, so we decided while the activity was low to change location, and we moved around to the Antrim coast onto the Giant's Causeway. The thing about Auroras is they're very dynamic, they change all the time, you don't know what's going to happen next. That Aurora outburst was caused by a south tilting IMF, or interplanetary magnetic field, or B subsea component as it's called. That's where the magnetic field actually tilts south and allows these charged particles to flow uninterrupted into the magnetosphere. When that happens, you can get incredible activity. After that outburst, the IMF must have tilted back north again, so that's why the activity was subdued. During the course of a night, this can wax and wane up and down all the time like a sine wave. You just don't know when it's going to happen, so an Aurora outburst could have been imminent, so we decided we need some cool foreground. We got what we could from Mussenden, which was fantastic. We couldn't really surpass it, so we decided to try some fresh material. We hit the causeway, we met up with some other Aurora photographers, which was great to see. Used to be a time you would get no one there, but now because of the popularity of the Aurora, Northern Lights in Northern Ireland, and the media and so forth, many people are out doing it now, which is just so good to see. Northern Ireland really is an Aurora hotspot, and right up there in the world stage as a place to go and see the Northern Lights. And every part of the coastline was packed with photographers this night. It was probably one of the most prolific Aurora shoots of the year, of the last couple of years, for photographers of the country, so it was very very successful, and a lot of people got outstanding images, so absolutely excellent. Pleased to see that, and great to see the Northern Ireland sky getting such attention and promotion as it deserves, because we really do have a phenomenal sky here. Anyway, we met all our photographers, we had a chat, we did some more shooting around the Giant's Causeway. The Aurora went into another minor outburst with a few beams, nothing like the first one, but it was still pretty cool. And then we moved on to Dunluce Castle. At this stage, this was early hours of the morning, so it was technically Halloween Aurora. Stephen had early morning, so he called it a night. The best of the show was over, we knew that from looking at things, so he went home and Paul and I stayed till much later in the night at the castle and continued to monitor the sky. Much to our surprise, even though the aurora was still there on the horizon as a faint glow, we were treated to a lightning display over the sea, so the model weather forecasts were verified again, which was fantastic. We counted 28 lightning bolts over the sea, very distant storms of course, not close enough to pick up on camera, but great to see flashes lighting up to the west of Scotland, over the north coast and far away to the northwest of Ireland. There was quite a lot of them, and to see those flashes lighting up among the stars was really, really beautiful, and an absolute celestial icing on the cake of a great night. You can't beat it. Halloween, aurora outburst, lightning, beautiful Milky Way, and wonderful historic locations at the sea at night. Absolute magic. It was an incredible success and we were all delighted. So if you check out my website, Nightskyhunter.com, you'll go on, you can see the image report there I've done for this night. You can read all about it in more detail and check out the images, and hopefully it won't be long to the next aurora. Thank you very much.